welcome back to Rogue 16. We are talking about the Gamorrean. What are we talking about? The Gamorrean.
The Gamorrean Maquette from Regal Robot.
Yes. Is it actually a bust or is it?
Well, it's a bust, but it's maquette, right?
It's
maquette
maquette,
size.
yeah.
So yeah, which they vary in size.
So we're doing a new product spotlight on this thing. It's in the Concept Maquette line, which just seems to continue forever, which is amazing for all the people that collect it. It's pretty incredible. I think they will. This one's actually pretty cool, to be honest. Like, I don't collect this line, but this one was tempting when it came out. So let's kind of talk through some of this. Let me see here. Let me put this up. So Jason, are they all going to be from this point on, not from this point on, but some of the other ones they've done, are they all going to be legacy versions? Are they all going to start doing that?
I would assume so, right? I think it's safe to say. However, we could be incorrect because I know there were a few going back to Java that weren't.
They weren't.
But I think moving forward, it makes sense to assure that each one has the non and legacy, right?
Yeah.
The good part about that is that you're getting a signature on both. Just that with the legacy, you're getting the additional artwork.
Right.
Which I think to some people seem to be a bit hit or miss, right? It's kind of like, buying a pack of cards and looking for that chase, right? Looking for that special card, right? You hope that you get that great drawing. But again, it's art, so it's subjective. Something that someone may not like, another person may love. So that's a great part about the art aspect of it. This particular
but Jason, to that point though, there's some people that like CC specifically likes the art from those things. Like it's not like you don't like the other thing, the bust. It's just that the art is what appeals to you the most, and you're excited about that part probably the most. I would say, CC, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of like that small detail that pushes it to like, oh, this is cool, to I'm actually gonna order this. But Jason's right. Like we've seen a few of these so far where it's included sketches, and these are like legends in the industry. They're incredible artists, but every style is different. Every artist has approached these differently. There's been like mixed bag, I think, with some of the other ones, because like Phil Tippett's, for example, are incredibly loose. So some of those were a lot more unique than others as far as the perspective of the drawings, what was included. So it's kind of like, and you don't know what you're going to get. Like we had a 1 in 60 shot for each of these because there's only 60 of them. But I do think that these are probably the most detailed of the ones that have been offered so far. And that's, of course, up to the artists themselves. So it's not like we can expect this from all of those sketches, but that's why you could always just choose you could always just choose to get the signature version instead of the legacy.
But this one's great. I think this one has some of the best art. But going back to the Phil Tippett one, right? The thing that makes it interesting is Phil tends to do his almost in like a when you're putting out the sort of shot by shot drawing board sequence. So I like that idea as well. And again, it's subjective, right? You may not like something, I may love something, and vice versa. But it seems that these are getting better and better. Now, Dave Carson, who did this particular piece, was also responsible for the Nyan Num, right? But that only came in the timed edition. It was signature, but just timed. It wasn't a legacy, non-legacy, which I thought was really interesting on that, right? To have it just as a timed edition. Because that would have been interesting to see that as a drawing. I mean, who doesn't love that character, correct? But yeah, I think so far, and then Ken Ralston did an amazing job on his sketches as well. I think those are great. But yeah, this one in particular, I think, has you see people visit the Regal Robot collectors group on Facebook, and we can probably put a link to that in the description of the video. So people will put up things like, "Hey, what would you like to see as the next maquette?" And as you said, Matt, that this is a line that's going to continue for some time, right?
Oh yeah,
it's such a great line. Yeah, it's affordable, and I think it's one of those things that there's something for everybody. I know there's some people that say I only collect what was released as a vintage Kenner figure. Yeah, some people want every single one. Some characters, people respond to differently, which is great. But the good thing about that is I think there's an offering for pretty much any collector. But
Well,
then,
and
again,
you're not wrong, Jason. One thing that's interesting is that you said is that like this is a great way for a collector to actually be able to get into and afford Regal
Yeah.
Robot stuff.
and not even an entry level piece, like a high quality piece.
Right,
is-
right.
you
And they do offer payment plans on these things as well, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
It's not just
all- I think all releases. You correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe even the magnets, but I think almost
for
everything
sure.
can be put on a payment plan.
Yeah.
And that's also good too. It's not even the sense of that's good for two reasons. And I've said this before many times. If something isn't going to be available for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, it's good just to have it be paid off and then pay it in installments, and then by the time it's paid off, it's ready to ship,
Right.
rather than paying it all up front and then you're waiting 6 months. So for those who want to take advantage of the payment plan, it kind of works to your favor, where if it isn't coming out for 3 months, it takes you 3 months to pay for it. Then once you're done, it arrives.
Yep.
It kind of aligns with production. So that's also, there's some more pros there than cons. But again, going back to what I was saying, there's always people who post, hey, what would you like the next maquette to be? And this has always been a favorite. This has always been one of those ones like, when are we going to see the Gamorrean? And there's two versions. There's this one, and then there's one that's, a little bit more sort of full size. He's got the full body. But I think both of them are just as much liked as the other.
You're talking
But
about
this one,
the Gamorrean fighter.
No.
No.
There's a version of this particular
Oh,
one
I got you.
for
Okay.
Return of the Jedi that's like a full body.
I got you.
Yeah,
In the archives is what you're saying?
correct.
Yeah. Got you.
Which
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it sometime in the future, because again,
I
it's
wouldn't
been a favorite of many collectors who have put up the polls. But this piece overall, just I think aesthetically looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think the artwork is phenomenal for each one. And then I think CC mentioned this quite a while back, but if you look at the sort of value to ratio for the art alone, right? I think you're paying an extra maybe 200 or whatever the difference is.
Sure.
It varies per maquette. But you take that difference of 20 or 30% for the Legacy Edition, and the value to ratio for art alone is worth it.
Yeah, these like art like this is very difficult to obtain on its own. If like it doesn't, at least in my research, it doesn't come up often. Like you're talking about prop store auctions, so I've been working on getting stuff from concept artists that are still like working. Like I don't want to say modern concept artists, but I'm talking about like sequels, prequels, that kind of thing, because I don't want to be in the situation 10 years from now where it's a real struggle to get this. So the upcharge of the sketch, I think, is pretty fair considering the prices I've seen for some of these.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm not big into the maquette line. They're kind of, I have to really either like the maquette itself or be invested in the character.
Yeah.
I think this one, even if because the Legacy sold out in 20 minutes. It was kind of a stressful checkout. Like I had to remind myself I wasn't getting like a Mondo print, because it just seemed like they went super fast. I think faster. With there being only 60, I expected that, but it still went pretty fast.
How much is the Legacy version? What's the cost breakdown?
Was it $850? And then this one's $5 something.
I can't remember. I do know this one. The Legacy version's already sold out, but
yes, but the signature's still available. I don't think they even have a lot of the signature ones left, but of all of the maquettes, I feel like this one, you're still getting an amazing piece of art regardless. At least like the shot they showed at San Diego Comic-Con, I was like, oh wait, I might be in trouble, because I just love it. Like the textures, the colors, I think they nailed this. And I also just don't have a lot of Return of the Jedi stuff in my collection, so right. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I think the watercolor sketches were great to get if you could, but I don't think anyone would be terribly disappointed to just get the signature edition.
No, and it's decently sizable too. I mean, all these concept maquette pieces, like you can't really, it's hard to tell the size on these things until someone actually like gives you some sort of context around it. Like, but yeah, it's decent size, and it's cool because they all come on these black wood block things where
they do. And the thing about that, like there were some that didn't, right? For example, Jabba doesn't sit that way in the archives.
Right.
I think somebody in particular who had asked, "Hey, can you make one?" and then sort of people jumped on it, and I get the consistency and cohesiveness of that.
Yeah.
I, in particular, you know me, I'm very specific. I like the idea of the way things being how they look, not adding to it just for consistency. But again, that's the great thing about collecting. You know, to each their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all have a nice display base, and it gives it a bit of a little museum aesthetic. So you can just put it on a shelf, and right out of the box, it just already has that sort of refined display look, which I think is great. So yeah, out of the two versions, the Legacy Edition was $849. Unfortunately, completely sold out. The Signature Edition at $549 is still available at regalrobot.com.
Okay.
You know, again, I can't picture this one lasting too long. I mean, it just released a week ago.
Honestly, I'm surprised there is stuff like ones available, to be honest. But
yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention, because I think it came up, Matt, when we were on PJ's show, was that it's becoming a bit much with, if you do have this line like that, I think it's like it has to go either one of two ways. You either have it collected, like displayed like this, where it kind of gives that kind of that archive, that famous photograph of all of them together, or you do what Stephen Useda does, where they all have their own air, they all have their own section, they're kind of spaced out, because I think that looks really, that's my preference, is giving it air and space. The other thing we talked about was signature plaques, and now these legacy sketches when it comes to displaying them, because if they continue going this route and everyone ends up getting a lot of these legacy ones with included art, like how does that work? And when it comes to shelf space, that I will say, because I think I asked Parminder when he got I think it was the Rancor, I was like, hey, like, can you tell me how that's framed in case I wanted to frame the sketch differently? Not that the frame doesn't look great, like with the plaque accompanying, but I'm not big on signature plaques because I don't need like 7 of Phil Tippett's signature.
Sure.
Mind you, this is Dave Carson, but I just don't like the look of the plaques. I'd rather just have the art by itself. I don't think the art at all is like dry mounted, where it's something that you can't just easily take apart if you wanted to reframe them. So if it is a situation where you have like a first world problem, where you have a lot of these sketches but no shelf space to like have the sketch propped up with the maquette, I bet you can take them apart and frame them together, like in like a jam piece almost, where you just have a few of them. They're all I think they're all the same size, so that might look actually really like cohesive and interesting to have all. I think, are they like 4x4? It looks like they are.
I've never, I don't know. I mean, look, I get it. I get that the art is a cool extra thing, and it works with the plaque and all that stuff. I just, the thing that we've, like you mentioned, the thing we've talked about a bunch is how the hell do you display all of these things? If you're collecting the line, at some point, how the hell do you display everything? I just don't. It's a lot. It's a lot. And if you do it like this, it does look really cool. Like it's got them all together. Like it looks great. But then again, if you did it like this, but then you added the signatures for every one of them, or the signatures and the picture, the little pictures for every one of them, that it just complicates the display. So like you almost have to do an individualized type of thing at some point, or I don't know. It's just really interesting. And I think they're going to keep freaking rocking and rolling on this line. It's just going to keep going and going and going. Because I'm sure they have a bunch more, which is cool. I'm sure there's people that are really excited about that. I just don't know.
I think it's amazing. I think
I do too. I'm just
going to bring something like this.
What I'm saying, Jason, is that I wonder if there's more collectors that are collecting all of them, or if there's more collectors at this point going, I really need to be selective.
I think it's a mixed bag. Based from the shows we've done since these have been released, right, which has been going on about 2 years now, from the people we've talked to in and out of the groups, etc. I think it's a mixed bag. I think there's people
Yeah.
who are literally getting them all. I think there are people who are very specific about what characters they like. You know, I know people who have all of them, but Jar Jar and Grogu.
Right.
I know people who have every single one, no matter what it is. I know some who were looking at it as, well, you know, if it is an original trilogy, if it wasn't part of, you know, the Maquette line, like the Gamorrean fighter, the Grogu, or the Jar Jar, it doesn't necessarily count to them. Then you have somebody like Parminder or even Tony, I think, who they would Clarence stating, we like the characters that represent the vintage Kenner figures.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the idea behind everybody's reason. But then those who are just collecting them all for the sake of collecting them all, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a really interesting looking display for sure. But as others have mentioned, including what Cece mentioned a few moments ago, the problem you do have is the signature plaques. You know, if you go all legacy, you know, do you have, well, how do you display the art? Do you,
Right.
you know, but again, that's sort of the fun part of collecting, right? Where you collect and curate at the same time. You figure out how to display your collection. But yeah, I mean, I think this is right up Regal Robot's alley, and I think it's a perfect niche.
They're killing it. They're killing it.
Yeah.
Sure.
The only thing I feel bad for is the people that are trying to backtrack. I mean, we saw, which this might be a good discussion for a later date, but as we get ready to tune out on this, but we saw, I think, between like November and December, they were selling for about 10 or 15% of a retail. Then around like January to February, March, I mean, they were going upwards of Jobbers was selling for $2,000.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to mention is that they do have they seem to have good resale value, all of them.
But
like
they've come back.
They've come down, but I still
yeah,
feel
they
like
do.
You can pretty easily sell them and get either what you paid for or more for them.
For sure,
right? Like it's pretty easy to get these sold. So, and you're going to have people coming into into collecting Star Wars that will
and they're going back and
want to backtrack, and it's going to be a thing. So anyway, I just that's just a quick, we just want to do a spotlight for this specific product. I mean, we're going to be doing some more, but this definitely needed that because it's a great piece. So
before we sign off on this one, just a quick show of hands, who ordered it besides me?
Did you get it?
This one I hadn't picked up yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I did get, surprisingly though, I did get Jar Jar.
Jar Jar looks cool. I was gonna say out of all of them, I like Jar Jar and the Tauntaun stuff the best. I think is what my favorite.
The OG Tauntaun is still my absolute favorite.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. We'll be doing, again, like I said, we'll be doing some more product spotlights. You'll see some come out here and there. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Real quick, I was gonna say, never mind.
No, go ahead.
I'll say, if you know, based on what we were talking about, how do you collect, what you collect, which ones you choose, you know, leave some comments, you know, leave some feedback. And, you know, if you're watching this, you know, let us know, like, how do you choose? Are you going to get them all? Are you looking forward to getting them all? Are you getting only certain ones? I'd love to get some feedback and see what people are collecting and how they're collecting.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, cool. You good? You want to interrupt me again? Or are we good?
No.
No, I'm kidding. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.